Hello and welcome to the video by TrumpExcel. I am Sumit Bansal, and in this video I'll give you an overview of formulas in Power Query. So here I have the sales data for July 2018, and let's open this data in the query editor. So I would go to the data tab and click on from table range. Now here I have the data, and any kind of transformation that I do on this data actually gets converted into a formula. So you don't need to know the formula to do this. There are so many options available in all these tabs. And if you don't want to really learn about formulas, you can still work with Power Query because everything is so easy to use here. But there are certain cases where you may need to know the formula, and if you're curious, then you can learn about these formulas just by looking at the formula bar here. So let's say that I come here to this column, product ID, and I want to split it based on the number of characters. So I want to have KL in one column and 001 in the other column. So to do that, I would right click, go to split columns by number of characters. And here I would type 2 as the number of characters, and I would say once as far left as possible. So I only want to split it once based on the first 2 characters in the first column and then the remaining in the second column. Now when I click OK, it does the work, it splits these. Now have a look at the formula here. So I have this step selected, which is split column by position. And now if I go to this formula here, you can see in the formula bar, I have the formula here, which says splitter.split text by position 0 to false. So this is a formula, and this formula has been applied by Power Query in the backend. I don't need to know this, but I can have a look and I can see what's happening here. So for example, if I come here to the item column and I change this to, let's say, uppercase. So let me select the last step here. And now let me do this. So I'll go to format, uppercase, and select this step here. You can see that in this case, the formula used is text.upper. So these are simple formulas that are there in Power Query. They're different from Excel. So you can notice that in Excel, it would have been the upper formula. But in this case, these are different formulas. These are text.upper. They have a different syntax. They're used differently. Now, whatever you do, you see this formula, but you can also add your custom formula. So if you want to create a formula and have a formula, you need to add a column. And to do that, you need to go here in add column and you need to add a custom column. So let me come out of this and let's add a custom column here. And in this custom column, you can type the formula, you can enter the formula, and those values would be entered in a new column. So I can name this, let's say, formula 1. And in this case, let's do something very simple. What I want to do is I just want to know what's the price per quantity. So I have the price here in this column and I have the quantity here in this column. And I just want to know what's the price per quantity, which would be this value divided by this value. Now, it's a very simple formula, and all you need to do is come down here and select these column names. Now, as I mentioned, Power Query formulas have a very specific format and these are case sensitive. So if you are working with Excel in worksheet and you, let's say, use a VLOOKUP formula and you use it in any case, like be it uppercase or lowercase, Excel is forgiving. It will allow you to do that, but Power Query is not. You need to be specific and you need to make sure that the syntax and the casing, the lowercase or uppercase, those are in the right format. Now in this case, the better way of doing it is not to type the column names, but instead double click on the column names here, and Power Query would handle inserting these names in the custom column formula. So in this case, I want to do is price. So it inserts price divided by quantity. So I would do this, and you can see these would mean simply putting these in square brackets with the same name as that of the column here. And at the bottom of it, it says no syntax errors have been detected. And now when I click OK, it'll give me the value with the name that I specified, which is formula 1. So this is a very simple formula. If you want, you can add, you can subtract, you can multiply, you can divide, you can do these basic operations, but you can do more than that. So let's do this. Let's go back to the custom formula. So I came here and I clicked on the gear icon here. And in this case, if you want to know more about formulas, you can come here and you can click on learn about Power Query formulas link here. And when you do this, it will open a web page that will have the references for Power Query. So if I do this, you can see I have this web page open here, and here I have Power Query formula category. And this opens all these formula categories, and here you can go through these. Now obviously you don't need to know each of these functions, but if you're curious you can go through these. So for example, we were looking at the splitter functions, or you can have a look at the text functions. So in the splitter function, you can see that here we were looking at the function, in this case in our Power Query. So if I go to the split column by position, it was splitter.split text by position. And if you go back here, you will have the formula, which is this one, splitter.split text by positions. And now if you want to learn more about it, you can have a look at this formula. Obviously there are no examples here and the help section is quite thin, but it will give you the formulas and you can try it out. You can experiment with these. Now again, as I said, the purpose of Power Query is not to make you go through these backend formulas and make you create those formulas, but it is a good to know feature. Now, there are a couple of differences you must know when you compare Excel formulas with Power Query formulas. So, first thing is that Power Query formulas are case sensitive, Excel formulas are not. The second thing is that Power Query formula has a base of 0 and Excel has a base of 1. So, which means that in case, let's say I have this value, Laura Smith, and I'm looking to find whether this contains the alphabet U or not. Now this is not really something useful, but just in case if you want to check this and you use Power Query to do this, you can see that U is at the third position. But if you're doing this in Power Query, it would give you the value as 2, because L is at the 0th position, A is at the first position, and U is at the second position. But if you do the same thing in Excel, if you find where the position of U is in this name, it will give you 3, because in Excel functions the base is 1. So this is something that can easily be handled. If you use these formulas, you can simply add 1 to a Power Query formula, but it's just something you just should keep in mind, that the base of Excel formula functions is 0. And the third is the data type. So in Excel, let me close this and let me show you what happens in Excel and what happens in Power Query. So in Excel, let's say if I want to combine two things, let's say I want to combine the date with the sales rep name. Again, this is not something useful, but just to show you how it works. If I come here and I say combine this date ampersand sales rep, it gives me a result, and it gives me this value, which is the date value, but it does the work. It will not give me an error. But let me go to Power Query and see what happens. If I go to open this data, the same data in Power Query, add a new column and try to do the same thing. So I combine the date here, ampersand sales rep, and I click OK. It says there is no syntax errors, but when I click OK, it will give me an error. And if I click on it, see what it says: we cannot apply operator and two types, date, time, and text, which means that it cannot combine a date, time, and a text format together, because these are not consistent. If these are both text, then it can combine it. If these are both dates, then it can combine it. But if these are different formats, it will not be able to combine it. So let me show you something different here. If I come to the date column and I convert this to text, and now I try the same thing, let's see what happens. I would go to add column, custom function, and now I would try and combine date and sales rep. And now when I click OK, you can see it is doing the job here. It's doing the job because now the date types are consistent. So Excel would allow you to combine different data types, but Power Query would not do that. Now let me also show you one interesting thing here. When I changed the data type here, when I changed this from date to text. See what happens. In this case, it applies these data types here. So in this case, you can see when I change the data type, it will apply. Date would have a text data type, item would have a text data type, but if I come to, let's say, quantity, it's int64 dot type. Now int64 is something which is for whole numbers, and this is again is something that you it's good to know, but it's not something that you must know, because Power Query has its own formulas and its own syntax and its own methodology. So it's good to know that int64 would mean a whole number, and here type number would mean a decimal number. So when you convert these, let's say you want to manually convert something, then you can use this. So for example, let me show you another formula. In this case, let me remove these columns, and let's say that this is a date type here. In this case, if I go to transform and convert this into a date type, and I want to convert this date to a number, then I can use a formula. Or I want to convert this into text, then I can use a formula. So I would come here, add column, custom column, and here let's call this convert to text. And here I can use the formula text from. Again, if you want to learn more about this, you can go here, Power Query function reference, and you can learn about the text functions here. So you can see there is a function called text from, which converts a number, returns the text representation of a number, date, or anything, which would mean that you can use text from to convert data types. Again, this is something that we can easily do with Power Query, but if you're working with the data and you want to use a formula, it's good to know that there is a formula to do this as well. So in text from, what I'll simply do is, in parenthesis, I would use date here. And see what happens when I click OK. It converts this date into a text. It has converted it so that it is left aligned, because now this becomes a date. And if you're trying to combine this with something, you can modify this formula here. So if I want to, let's say, combine this now, I can combine this with sales rep, and it will not give me an error, because now within the formula I have converted the date into text and then combined it with the sales rep. So this works. But if you try and combine this without converting the data type, then it would give you an error. So there are these small functions that can do the job, and if you want to learn more about these, the best way is to go to the reference, this reference, and have a look at these formulas. As Power Query is evolving, a lot of these formulas are now being converted into inbuilt features. So for example, earlier there were no extract functions, so there was no way to know the length or get the first characters or last characters when Power Query came. But now the team has added these. So they're trying to simplify stuff by adding these things, so that you do not have to go back and work with the functions. But it's again just a good way to know that these functions exist, and there are things that you can do that you cannot do with Power Query inbuilt functions as of now. That's it in this video. I hope you found this useful. Thank you and have a nice day.